everyone and happy Tuesday. Now I have had my lunch and we're going back to colouring leaves, I'm afraid. And we had a very interesting debate, just me and my two boys today. Husband's at work. I need to actually figure out who's going to be where, and next week they start back at uni. But anyway, we were having a chat about world politics, which was quite interesting. My one son is training in accountancy, so he was saying how interesting it is about telling me about research and development in companies, saying that how you can't write off research as a business expense in the IRFS, which UK follows. So that means that in the USA and the UK you can't most companies doing research rely on government grants to do it. Now I think in the UK, as far as I am aware with my very limited knowledge, is that a lot of research is done in universities and they get grants, and presumably sometimes they are from companies because they have to declare where they get their funding from. Sometimes it's just generally from the university, and I'd assume that perhaps the income from students might help that, but I don't know. Anyone who works for a university would be able to tell me that. And also sometimes my pencil is broken. Sometimes companies will sponsor research as well. Obviously it could be in their interests to know something, learn something, be able to quote research on something depending on what it could possibly be on. So it's quite interesting. And obviously if companies fund their own research, there can be bias. So it's all very interesting. Obviously it depends what it's in, you know, but without lots of research, new things don't get discovered, tried, made, that sort of thing. So it can sort of hold back a company or an economy or whatever, but it depends what it's on, who's doing what research on what, and obviously we don't know all of it, because companies keep things quite private sometimes, and it's not a field that I know much about generally. So we're talking about that. So that was quite interesting. We're talking about other more controversial issues, should I say, which I won't talk about, because so it's nice to have teenagers around, chattering, challenging your thoughts, teaching you things. Obviously when you bring up your kids, you spend so much of your time teaching them different things, and I still do. But them teaching me things about the world I find really, really good. New things, new words, new customs, new ways to think about things, but also just things they've learned on social media. It might not all be true, but it still opens your eyes a little bit, doesn't it, to the broader world, which I think social media does. Now because of the way social media is, our what we are sent to look at is very much based on our previous viewing, so it's very biased. So we don't tend, there's an echo chamber, as they say, so we don't tend to see other people's points of view, so which I think is a big problem. I think it's probably leading to a lower amount of tolerance in the world as a whole, because we aren't open to seeing other people's views so much anymore, and I think that is a bad thing. It's nice to have your views challenged. It usually makes you feel stronger about what you believe, but if you are truly scientifically thinking, then you need to be able to look for evidence for and against your arguments or your beliefs, and so it's quite fascinating. And there are also things that they talk about which aren't issues that I've ever thought about before or had strong opinions on. So that can be quite interesting, just listening to different sides of an opinion, really, of an argument, I suppose. So that's interesting. Had an interesting chat with my husband this morning. He's been quite out of sorts for probably nearly a year now. And I sort of said to him, you know, what's going on? Things need to change a little bit. You know, you need to, you know. And he had to think about it, and he came back to me and he said, you know, I haven't for the last year read a book. He's an avid reader normally, not so much, occasionally fiction, normally non-fiction, but either way. He says, I also haven't for a whole year done any journaling or any meditation. And I was like, wow. And what he tends to be doing is linking back to what I was just saying, is he's not on social media as much as such, but he's on his phone doing something. I don't know what. He tends to watch a lot of American chat shows on YouTube, YouTube channels, podcasts, things like that. And then while there's no harm in those things, they are different to, I think there's harm in the American chat shows because they talk a lot about politics, and I think it's sometimes best to just step away from politics a little bit, not think about it. I always tend to think I am the tiniest little pawn in my country. I need to be in control of what I can do and where I can influence things, and I cannot influence decisions that go on in London very much at all. I can put my little voice forward occasionally, but really it's never heard. The best thing I can do is think about what I can do to improve what's going on around me and hope that that spreads. So by, as I was saying yesterday, going out and smiling at people, just being generally positive, happy, smiley, friendly, all those things, even if you're not in the mood for it, try and, you know, I challenge myself sometimes. There are certain people that you see around a lot while you're sort of walking or shopping. They might be serving in a shop or whatever, that never smile. And I challenge myself. There's a certain person, I said to my husband, I challenge you to get him to smile. This person that my husband talks to, you know, it's a great challenge. It's, you know, what harm's it going to do? None. And yet, you know, so keep smiling at that person. If you know them well enough, try and tell them a joke. I just realised how ridiculous that sounds. Hello, how are you? Why did the chicken cross the road? No. Not going to work, is it? No, but try to just, you know, challenge yourself. I think it's such a fun thing to do. And I'm walking along the street and I'm thinking, look at that person, they're looking down, they're looking miserable. What am I going to do? Try and make them smile, you know. And it's so fun. It's such a fun game, particularly if you're on your own walking, because and then if you get a smile back, it's so rewarding, you know. It's so fun. Yeah. We were also chattering about the fact there's a flat opposite us gone up for sale, and my husband said, I'd love to buy it for the boys. And I was like, well, it's a 1-bedroom flat. What they're going to do, they can't live in it together. They have to share a bedroom. They don't share a bedroom now. They're going to move out and share 1 bedroom. It's a really small flat. It's £180,000, and it's got 1 double bedroom, 1 cloakroom, an ensuite bathroom with a bath and shower in. No, I think it showers over the bath. I can't remember. And 1 main living room, which is kitchen, lounge, diner. It's got a balcony which overlooks the canal, and a parking space, no garden. And yeah, it's quite expensive, really. It's also got a communal entrance, which is fine because the other 2, it's a centre, it's a first floor centre flat. The ground floor flat, the entrance is never used because it's the person who lives next door has bought it and knocked through, so they use their main front door to get in. And the top floor flat belongs to the person on the other side on the who's knocked through at the top. So the entrance is actually only ever used by the person who lives in the middle flat. But you have to pay a little bit of communal money towards the insurance and the electricity for the hallway, because there's a light, there's an emergency light on when there's a power cut, it's a battery, and also a normal light as well that you can use, so you have to pay for that. Which is fair enough. So there's a bit of sort of overheads, plus there's some work planned which the owner had agreed to pay for, so the new owner will have to pay for. But it was all stipulated in the agreement, in the you know, and I know the person who's organising the works, have already talked to them about it, so it's all fine. But it's just like, I don't think we want to buy that, you know. It's, he's like, oh, you could have your studio over there, you know, and I'm like, well, I could, but I wouldn't want to have to leave my house to go and do art and record and things. Like today, you know, I made the first half of this video and went downstairs, had lunch, came back and talked to the kids. You know, what am I going to do? You know, come home and have lunch in different buildings? I just don't want that. I wouldn't even want like a garden room. I want it all connected, you know, in the same building. It's because I would love to have a sort of craft room, as I spoke of before, where I can store all my art, and I would want to be able to take a little bit out at a time to do myself and then put it back, that sort of thing, keep it neat and away from the rest of the house. But I want it to be near the main part of the house, you know, accessible, not like 10 million miles away, you know. I mean, yes, it's good for you to walk and all that, but really it needs to be close by so that I can hear and see everything that's going on. Maybe I'm just too nosy. But anyway, yeah, I also questioned my husband. I said, where do you see yourself in 5 years time or 10 years time? He went, oh, don't ask, still at work. I was like, yeah, but work isn't everything. You're only working 3 days a week. About the rest of the time, you know, I said, you know, you might not have to work that long if we're careful and we save, and I can earn a bit more, you know, maybe not, and the children might have left, it'll be cheaper, you know. There's all these sort of possibilities. Right, that is the leaves. Now I might decide to do a little bit more detail on those leaves later, but I am going to wait for now and do the castle. But I've just remembered that I didn't write down the colours that I used for the first video. I'm just going to stop the video and do that before I get muddled and confused. Right, that's that done, so that I can put in the description what pencils I've used. Okay, I'm looking at the castle now. I wanted this to be the bit that stands out in our page, so I wanted to be bright and pretty, and I'm thinking we could go therefore for sort of reds or pinks or purples to make it look quite bright. And I'm thinking I might start with some reds. We've got quite a mix of reds here. Let me pop it here. We've got the ketchup, we've got the baked apple and the rose brown. So these are all slightly different shades. We've got Baton Rouge and Dora. These are getting a little bit more pinky. I'm thinking ketchup maybe for the walls. I'm sure we could put ketchup all over the walls. It'll be absolutely fine. So here is our ketchup. And yeah, I'm going to do all the castle walls with this. Just a layer everywhere to start with. Just paint it with ketchup. I'm going to leave these lines and things, and the window frames are quite small, but I'm going to try not to colour on them, so I'll do a different colour after. It doesn't matter too much though if you go over it, because I'm going to be using another red shade, so it'll just be darker. So it won't matter, as I say, too much. So if you're not using metallics and you want to know what sort of colours, this sort of red, it's not a it wouldn't be a regular red like a scarlet or anything like that. You could use like a Pompeian red, or, you know, what's that other one called? Venetian red, that sort of tone. Or you could even go for a more browny red or brown. I'm thinking sanguine, ruby earth. I'm going Derwent now. Or what can I think of in Prisma? Maybe along your lines of these sort of hennas. It's a bit dark, isn't it? Maybe your beige sienna. Maybe something like that. A little bit lighter colour. And also you don't have to push down too hard. I'm just doing a medium pressure here. But you know, the harder you press, or the more layers that you put down, the more intense your colour. So if you keep it a little bit lighter, then that can help too. It's actually getting quite bright outside. It was dry when we were out this morning, and it was cloudless early. We had a really pretty sunrise. Red streaks across the sky, which was rather nice. So red sky in the morning, shepherd's warning. Anyway, but it's been fine so far, so it was good. It was chilly-ish, but not too cold, so that was nice. And not windy. Apparently we've got a storm coming according to the news, but I don't know whether it'll come as far south as here. They like making us panic about the weather. Oh, big storm coming, UK braces for storm, blah blah, and then you have a look and it's just Scotland. And it's no disrespect for anyone in Scotland, I love it in Scotland, but what I mean is you're used to it up there, and they try and make it out like it's going to affect the whole of us, the whole of the world, the whole of the country, our little country. Because although we're little, we don't have the same weather across the whole country. You know, there's a huge temperature difference between the north of Scotland and the south of England, for example. Huge. And weirdly, Scotland in sort of September time is actually warmer than sometimes England is, even though it's north. It's sort to do with the jet streams apparently, and that also protects us from some of the cold weather which comes over from America, so we don't always get the cold as severely, or, you know, we don't anyway. I know some parts of America are really, really cold. We get sort of, I think, I can't remember a time when it's been lower than, I want to say like -8, something like that. I don't remember it ever getting down double figures, minus double figures, you know. We have quite a lot of freezing temperatures, frost and things. It's nice, but never really, really, really cold. And then also in the summer, the heat as well. The hottest I've known is just over 40 degrees, which is just stupid. But you know, our average summer temperatures are more like late 20s. So when it gets to that, it's like, ugh, it's not, you know, we don't get like Australian heat. Although where I live, it's very humid, so that's quite nasty. Not all the time, but we don't get breeze. We're sheltered from the wind, so that makes it more humid all the time. It's actually very specific to our little town. We just happen to be low, and we live in the lowest part of the town, so it's yeah, we don't get much breeze, which protects us from the storms, you know, from the wind and storms, because but yeah, I think British weather is so variable that it makes it interesting. My phone's ringing. To go. Right, I am back. I've got no idea what I was blabbing about before I went, but never mind. Husband was phoning. My eyes are going funny. I'm going to put on my specs so I can get around all these details without making too much of a mess. My magnifying specs. That's better. Yeah, I was trying to look outside while I was on the phone, because sometimes that helps my eyes sort themselves out, but it didn't, so oh wear my magnifying specs and it works nicely. There we go, getting around all these little nooks and crannies. I'm going to sharpen up actually. Yeah, he was ringing to tell me about some tickets that he'd... Did you have a bit in there? He's was going to go to a pantomime. It's quite late, the pantomime. But he's paid for his ticket, but he doesn't want to go. He's not going. Because we are seeing his dad at the weekend and the pantomime's before then, and he doesn't want to go and sit in a hot, crowded village hall and pick up germs because my father-in-law's companion's got pneumonia and he's trying to protect her and make sure she doesn't catch anything. This is our actual Christmas visit because we didn't go around Christmas. He didn't want to see us until after Christmas anyway, and then we all had a sort of coldy flu thing, and so we couldn't go, although we were okay in recovering. We didn't want to give it to her, so we didn't end up going, which was a shame because actually that day was a day I felt quite rotten. I didn't have specific cold flu symptoms. I just felt really completely drained of all energy and unsociable, you know, feeling a bit sorry for myself. And I thought I didn't want to go out anyway, but everyone else decided they weren't up for it either. So we're going this weekend. That'll be nice. I thought I was actually my mum on the phone because we're going to try and meet her yesterday. I mean, they happened to be in the same location as me and my son, but they messaged me last night to say they were tell me what time they left the place, which was after we did. They arrived before us and left after us, and said they ate in a Wetherspoons restaurant and pub for lunch, which didn't help me at all because there were two. So I was like, oh. So I don't know whether we would have... We looked out for them the whole time. They're quite recognisable because, well, I mean, obviously you recognise your own parents, but they wear quite bright coats, so they would have stood out sort of thing. But they were probably inside having lunch because we arrived at 1:30 and then left at 2 something. We weren't long. We basically got off the train, walked to the place we wanted to go to, and then got back on the train again, went back. We were very quick. I'm nearly getting to the end of this bit, and then I shall choose my next colour. It's quite interesting spreading ketchup all over the wall. Not something I've done before. I remember when my dad did. I was very kind as a child and left the lid loose on the ketchup bottle. Remember when they were glass bottles with lids that you just turned on? You just screwed them a little bit and they just sort of attached. And before we had squeezy plastic bottles and all that. So I left the lid off for him to make it easier. He picked it up and the lid had just caught a tiny bit, so it didn't fall off. And he shook it. And it went all over the... Actually, it was ceiling. Went all over the ceiling. It was quite funny. It wasn't funny for my poor mum because my dad had come home from work for lunch. He used to always come home for lunch. And so he didn't have a lot of time to do much but eat his dinner. And so there was all this mess. But yes, and my mum had to clean it up. I don't know how we reached the ceiling, to be honest. We must have had she must have had her steps. She's got a little tiny set of steps because she's not very tall. What's she now? I think she's 5 foot. She used to be 5'4". I think she's shrunk a bit now. But I remember when I got taller than her. I'm 5'7", which my son keeps telling me is quite tall for a woman. I don't feel tall, but that's because I've got a husband who's 6'1" and 2 sons who are 6'3", who are obviously giants. Right, I'm going to do some of the detailing next because it's quite hard to see exactly what's going on. So I'm going to do the windows. Now, yellow windows, like light, is quite good, but I think I'm just going to use the maize. It's the other yellow that we haven't used yet, so I'm just going to use it and see what it looks like. So maize, I'm going to give it a sharpen and just go for it, do it in all the windows. And I hope it doesn't look too much like the background. I'm going to try and sort of put it on quite, layer it on a lot and make it quite intense, and hope that helps it to stand out enough. It's quite a good colour actually. Now while you're using metallic pencils, you could use some metallic pens as well. They are a very different thing though. Metallic pens actually look quite shiny in the light. Metallic pencils, the more layers you put on, the shinier they are. Look at the door. But they tend to be reasonably flat. And yes, with pens you also have to dip them to the light to see the shine. Unless you use one of the real, there's the sort of chrome pens which are really, really, really shiny. And so unless you use those, which go through they're oil based to go through the paper, the colour doesn't go through, but they leave an oily patch. It's just a bit nasty. So I wouldn't recommend those on double-sided colouring books, or maybe even any, to be careful. And they're stinky. I don't like stinky pens. Maybe some people don't mind. I don't think anyone likes the smell, but some people seem to be able to tolerate it better. I can't. It's not. Should those have been windows? Well, they're not now, I'm afraid. Oh, I've missed a bit there. Just spotted that. One thing at a time. We'll go back to that in a minute. Yes, it'll be nice getting out for the weekend for a day. I have to make sure I'm up to date with all my videos. This one is, I'm sort of slotting this one in. I've recorded a few out of order and it's got a bit messy in my head with what's going on when. But I think my next video to record is the next page in this book. You know, it's got that strangely out of order. But that's fine. I don't know what the next one is. I want to know. I'm going to have a look when I finish this yellow. Just go around here. We'll do the green leaves and we'll do the windowsills. And then we can, let's have a look what's the next week's. Don't look away now if you don't want a spoiler. Oh yeah, what am I going to do with that big blank space? So I gave you a spoiler anyway, sorry. Right, I'm going to use the, get the pencil out. The Baton Rouge, sorry, no, wrong one. The Rose Brown for the windowsills and all the little blank lines that we've left. So that's my next job. Again, I'm going to try and do it quite intensely like I did with the windows. Make it stand out. Keep it sharp as you need to too. So for me this is a bit like a Caput Mortuum or red violet type shade. Quite browny red, India red maybe? But that's okay. Oh, I didn't do that bit, I missed, did I? I'm just going to do it now. So the ketchup in here. See how that looks so much darker? I think that is the, because I used a different side of the lead. The pencils vary a lot in how dark they are because of the way their metallic pencils are made. A bit tricky. But they'll all come together because I have a plan. do this little bit first, around all the windows. There we go. Yeah, I was looking out the window while I was on the phone, looking at the trees in the distance, trying to get my vision sorted out. As I say, it didn't work. But the magnifying glasses are working, so that's good. But I think this will have to be my last video of the day because of that. Some days I don't get that my vision's fine. Other days I think it's definitely to do with the light. It's quite dull now. That one and that one. I think I'm going to do this one and this one, but leave that one. Don't worry, we are going to come back to our red colour, our ketchup, I mean, eventually, so we can fill in the gaps that we missed. But I did want to do that one in case I completely forgot about it. I think I'll do that bit. Just trying to make sure I make it symmetrical. Now, we've got these bits in here that I'm going. Now this looks like a Tudor bit style, and that would normally be black with white behind. Some Tudor buildings we walked past yesterday. They were pretty. Some I couldn't tell, and there's quite a lot of mock Tudor around. I couldn't tell whether it was real. I think it is. I think that particular building is protected, but it's a pub, which is interesting. But it was being renovated in the downstairs to make it into a restaurant, I think. I was a bit confused, to be honest. We were walking, so my son walks so fast. So say they're tall, 6'3", but the son I was with, his legs, all his height is in his legs. And when he basically his size of his top of his hip bone is so high, it comes up to the, I'm not quite sure actually exactly where, but really high up. I just realised my light's on my specs. Must have knocked it. I was just looking out of the window and I could see this light. What's that? We're doing this bit, aren't we? So yeah, now my phone's ringing again. Hi, I am back after being on the phone for quite some considerable time. Just having a look at what I was doing. I was using the rose brown, wasn't I, to identify. I think I was, oh, here I am. Oh, yeah, my mum rang, we have a nice chat. She'd had a hospital follow-up appointment this morning, and all was good, so she was very chirpy and happy, so that was really nice. Basically, last time she had some sort of eye scan, they found a little blockage they were worried about, or signs of a blockage or something, and before Christmas she'd had to have a scan on the artery on her neck, I think, to see if there's a blockage there. This is baked apple, and I'm going to draw in some shadows on the edges. This is a bit darker than what we've been using, and they hadn't found anything and said they were sure it was all fine, but she had this appointment to just go back and check, but they were happy, so all was good. They did say she might want to increase the amount of aspirin, but she already has one. And oh, I've missed those windows. Go back to the rose brown. And she gets reflux, and apparently aspirin can make that worse. So they said, oh no, who best not. She said, just, I'm back to my unbaked apple. Go, just talk to your doctor about it next appointment. But she said it should all be fine. So that was all good. So she was happy. She was saying, we're not doing bad, we're nearly 80. My dad's going to be 80 in a couple of weeks' time, my mum next year. She said they're nearly at their 60th wedding anniversary in 2 years' time. Wow. And she said they've nearly been in the house they're living in for 50 years. It was quite interesting, her sort of reeling off all these dates. I was like, wow, you know. It's my 25th wedding anniversary this year. It feels a bit pathetic compared to her 60. There we go. That one's a bit darker anyway, so just making that one a little bit darker. I'm just doing these overlapping edges. What I'm going to do next is do that bit of green where we've got those bits of leaves, and then I'm going to, everything's running away. I'm going to use the bosphorus green. It's quite a vivid green for, oh, we're a bit squiff, I've just noticed, that way. For all these baby, oh, needs a good sharpen. And then I'm actually going to go back to my ketchup and tidy it all up a bit, and then we'll think about these roofs. I've got no idea how long this video is going to be. I wouldn't anyway, but I mean, I can't even judge it by the time on my camera screen because I've had to stop it twice, so I just don't know. So I'm hoping it's going to be about the same length as the first one, but who knows. It's getting dark here and everything. I've put the light on. I think you might get a few more shadows, but it's I needed to be able to make sure I could see what I was doing. It's usually quite useful. So what time is it? It's only 2:10. It's getting dark, but it's that time of year. Although we've passed the shortest day, I think it's partly weather-wise, it makes it all a bit dark. But and yesterday it was, what do they call it, Blue Monday. Apparently it's a made-up day. It's not a real thing. It's supposed to be the worst day of the year because everyone's miserable because of how long it is after Christmas and things like that. This is ketchup, which I think is really silly because some people really dislike Christmas. They're happy when it's over, and you know, people like me, the winter doesn't get me down. I don't mind it. I don't like the summer, you know. So it's just all a bit of nonsense. It just makes people feel low. I don't want to be making people feel low. So basically I'm just going over it all a little bit where it's a bit pale, tidying it up, making it look a bit neater, making sure I've gone all the way to the edges of everywhere and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's a bit silly, isn't it? I mean, I know there are people that struggle in the winter, the dark mornings, the dark evenings, haven't done that windowsill, and things like that. And I'm not trying to deny that's a thing. But what I'm trying to say is that don't get pulled into that. If you don't normally find it a problem, there's no reason why you should. But if you do, then I'm sorry. I know people who have had that or who have got it, and it is nasty. And I hope that you can find a way to get through it. I know there are various things, advice that you can follow. I'm not well enough educated in this area to know really, but I know someone who had the seasonal affective disorder and found that having a UV light was really good, but I think they managed to get one from their doctor, but I don't know if it works for everyone or if everyone can get one or afford one or whatever. But I also know that there are theories that the lack of vitamin D can cause well, it's true that a lack of vitamin D can cause depression, so it could be partly linked in with that. So trying to make sure you get enough vitamin D, which at this time of year really only from supplements. So you know, you've got to be well off enough to afford them, which I know is tricky. But and of course some of you listening aren't in a part of the world where it's dark and cold. You're in a part of the world where it's horribly hot. This is rose brown. I have no advice for dealing with hot heat except to keep hydrated. It's the only thing that I've ever found helps me, and even then not that much. It's yeah, luckily we don't have many completely unbearable days here. I'm hoping it'll be the same this summer. I think the thing is, although people enjoy sunshine and summer, no one really likes it when it's just stupidly unbearably hot, you know. However much you are a sun worshipper. So and the humidity I think is a big problem. I am thinking that we might have to think about air conditioning. They do sell little mini air conditioning units in the UK, as well as all the fans and things like that. I'm trying to work out what to do with this bit here. Have we got... Maybe I'll use the Baton Rouge. Let me look at it. No. It's too purpley. I'm actually going to use the dull gold. I can't say it. Dull gold. There we go. And I'll use it for the other pointy bits as well, maybe. We'll see. Yeah, weather isn't such a talked about thing in this country, because it changes so much. You know, like I remember going to California, and it was just the same weather every day. Hot. You know, there was no change, no rain. I think it was the summer. It was the UK summer. So yeah, it was just hot. So which was interesting. Not something I was used to. I don't think I managed not to get sunburn until I went to Mexico. It was really hot. Oof. I got very sunburnt. It's a good memory of Mexico sunburn, because I've told this story before. I packed my suitcase and was ready to leave. It was one of our last days, and I wasn't going to do any more washing, and the only clothes I had left were sleeveless, like a sleeveless top. I hadn't worn sleeveless anything for the whole time I was there, so my shoulders were really white, and the sunburn was so sore. Right, roofs and drawbridge. We could go brown, we could go grey, we could go... what's going to work? I think I'm going to go with the bone brown for the roofs. You could go grey if you prefer, like the silvery, the Belgian block. I'm going to go bone brown. I'm going to do it on every roof the same. I'm going to try to make the intensity great enough so that I only have to do one layer. Now I realise that some of these roofs have tiles and some don't, and I think it's just too fiddly in a picture of this size to colour each tile as an individual item, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to colour right over the tiles, you'll see, like this, and just let them speak for themselves. The black still shows through, they just are block coloured. You can try and make it a little bit darker on the edges than the middle, but I don't think it's going to really show up that well, so I'm just going to keep it pretty even actually. And this bit in here is our... There we go, put this bit there. Oh, I've got a sniffle now. Must be like cold weather I've been talking about. Yeah, my mum said on the phone that that we've got a storm is definitely coming down this far in the country. on Friday. So, oh good. Husband will be panicking. He panics about the weather. But there's not much we can do. He won't be at work actually on Friday, so that's good. So actually that might help. And be a bit less panicky. He's not been happy at work really in this current job he's in. I think I know why. But his job will be changing soon. I'm hoping it'll be suiting better. But he doesn't know what he's going to be changing to. There are a selection of different roles available. I've just realised I've got a background gap there. So we'll see, and a gap there that I've missed. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that he'll be able to find a slot that suits him, you know. It's not easy, is it? And he'll be working with the same company, in the same place, but just with different people doing a different sort of job. Sometimes roles suit him and sometimes they don't, you know. I think I'm going to use the dull gold for this bit. I should have done, I forgot this bit. But I'm just going to sharpen it, going to use it for the flagpoles, I think. I think it'll match in nicely. Now with metallics, you can treat them just like a regular pencil and do shading with them. I've tried to show you a little bit. It was quite difficult to do the big background area. It's fairly messy, and but hopefully it just gives you the idea of what you can do with them. Now, a little bit of background mist there. I think I just need a bit of the primrose yellow to pop in that space there. That's it. And then what was the other bit that I missed? There's a bit there, a bit of the ketchup that I missed in there. Just there. I did the bit on the other side. So, drawbridge and flags. I'm thinking I'm going to go sugar almond for our drawbridge. It's like a sort of brownish colour. I think it'll work with the wood of the door. So I'm just going to pop that in. Again, just try and keep up. I'm going to keep it fairly intense. And then go this way. There we go. But I'm going to grab the sycamore and just do a few details. So here it is, sycamore. It's like a very dark brown, sort of grey actually. But I'm going to I want a bit of shadow along there and along here, and then just a bit under each of these bits, just so we can see the planks. You can see how we can shade. I just wanted to show you, you know, how we can put in some shadow. We can put a little bit of shadow in there on the grass, like that. Right. Flags. Now I was tempted to go with the wild aster, really bright, but I think it's just going to look weird. I think I'm going to go with the vibrant orange. I think it'll match in with the reds and the yellows, and I think it'll work quite well. We'll find out, won't we? But I really want the flags to stand out, so I'm going to colour quite intensely. Try and get a few layers. Oh, so my son get and put the light on in next door, which is good. He has to make sure he has the light on. He's not supposed to look at a screen in the dark. It can make him unwell. Yeah. Now what I would really want to do with this picture now is to go over the whole of the background again with the lightest yellow colour that I've got, just to tidy it up a bit. And what have I got? The mimosa. Now I'm going to do that, but I'm not going to do it on camera because I've been on camera for a really long time. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to share the finished picture with you. It's quite hard because it's reflecting the light as they should, but it looks all glowy here from the lamp. I'm going to play with that quickly, have a little bit of a tidy up of my background, and then I will take a picture so you'll see what it looks like when I am done. But I'm going to sign off, say thank you for watching. I hope you have a great week if you don't watch any more of my videos, but please tune in, there are plenty more to come. I'm quite pleased with the ones that are coming out tomorrow, I think, if it does come out in the order I planned, so I hope you like those. But anyway, thank you for watching, have a super day and happy colouring.